Whenever you're ready, Britta. Thank you.
All right, excellent. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have everybody mute because otherwise the recording gets
Oh,
obscured.
it's okay. Did it
Thank
work?
you.
Okay.
So go ahead and mute. Otherwise, I'm just going to mute everyone manually myself. So I'll give you the chance to mute yourself. And what I will do is I will give you an opportunity when we have little pauses to have you guys mute yourselves. And we'll also have a little bit of music that will play. If you hate having music play when you do certain writing, that is okay. You can just turn the volume down. You'll know that we're starting again because I'll do one of these and you'll see me talking. So excellent. I just want to do a quick sound check, make sure that you all can hear me or that you turn up your volume so you can hear my voice. So just give me a thumbs up in the chat and let me know that you can hear me okay. That'll be awesome. So thumbs up in the chat. All right, excellent. I see one. Just need one more and then we'll be good to go. So I am Brita Jensen. I am the author of 4 novels, and we are going to focus here. Thanks so much for the extra thumbs up. We're going to focus here on deep characterization. So what does that mean? It means really diving deep into your character's emotions, motivations, relationships, and as it says in this first slide, their secrets. So if you've ever taken one of my deep characterization workshops before, I have new things for you. Do not fear. We may have one thing that you might have done before, but I believe in deep practice. And sometimes that means a little bit of repetition to go deeper with another character. If you want to join my mailing list, you can do so here to get more information about the book that I'm going to have coming out that is about this exact practice and to get a chance to get a free copy yourself. I also have a writing retreat going on in Mexico that I will drop information into the chat at the end. And you can also go to my website to find out more about it. So without further ado, these are all of my books that I have actually published. So I'm the single author of is what I mean. And then these are only a few of the many books that I have helped either edit, get published out into the world. So I have many others that I've worked on, and I have one of authors that I work with. Her third book just came out, E.A. Williams, who is here joining us today. It's very exciting. So a few things that you're going to need for today. You're going to need a notebook or paper to write on. It makes it a little bit easier. If you prefer writing on your tablet, your computer, that's totally fine. You're going to want a pen or pencil or colored pencils if desired. Get cozy and comfortable, and then follow your instincts with all that we're going to do today. It is not about thinking things through analytically until the end. It's really about just feeling your way with your characters. And so in order for us to get there, we're going to do a little bit of breathing, or what I like to call breath work. So we're just going to take a few seconds, minutes, not more than 2, to work on this. So what I'd like you to do is to inhale deeply, and then we're going to do what I call a shh, shh, shh. Now you might be asking me, what does this have to do with writing? Well, you are about to find out. Do not worry. So let's inhale together and exhale. Shh, shh, shh. Inhale again. Shh, shh, shh. And one more. Shh, shh, shh. And I want you to bring your hands here to your chest, and I want you to inhale and exhale, sigh. Take another deep belly breath. Inhale again. Deep belly breath and sigh. And one more. Inhale. Exhale audibly on your own. What I want you to do for the next minute is I want you to write down anything that you want to leave behind before we get started and really concentrate on maybe one or two of your characters. I think that's about all that we'll have time for today, but you can switch it up and I won't know. But I want you right now to just focus on yourself and anything you just want to leave behind before you start working on your characters. So I'm just going to give us a minute to work on that. So again, write out anything you want to leave behind or that's nagging at you, bothering you. Just go ahead and set it into your notebook and allow ourselves to set that intention with a character or characters that you want to work on today. All right, you got 5 more seconds before I go to the next slide. So we're going to again follow our instincts as we dive deep into this practice. I want you to quickly write down which character you're going to focus on. Prioritize the one that really needs your attention or who you're most afraid of channeling today. Again, you're going to rely on your gut, your instinct, your emotions, and you're going to give yourself permission, which is why we did the breath work, to let go. Now, there might be moments where you want to switch to another character, and that's okay. But really prioritize that visceral gut reasons instead of something that's just an administrative mental decision. Go ahead and give yourself permission to let go of the need to control your character during this seminar and simply ease into the flow in the way that works best for your character, but also for your body and for your mind. So you've got 20 more seconds to write down who that is and to write down a couple of notes in list format of what you are a little bit afraid of right now. Got 15 more seconds. What I would like you to do is write a short list of everything you want to explore with the character you've chosen. You only have 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. No sentences, list format only. And now we're going to take a little trip into your character's world. So, why are we doing this? We're going to start our exploration by looking at a group of images and allowing our character to choose which one is bringing up things in their voice or curiosity for them. These questions at the top are there just for reference, but by the end, you'll be able to answer them with everything we're doing, both subtextually as well as adding on the analytical piece at the end. Where we're going to leave the analysis aside for now and simply flow into a new state with our characters. So I'm going to go back and forth between what you choose in the next slide and the instructions. So if you're like, I didn't see the instructions, don't worry. I'm going to toggle back and forth. So again, you're going to choose from the perspective of your character that you've chosen. So I'm going to spend just a few seconds here. Connect it to your main character or character you've chosen to explore. You're going to jot down a few words or phrases that come to mind from that picture as your character. And I'm going to toggle between this and the instructions, which are going to be on the next slide. So you don't feel lost if you're like, wait, I'm not sure what to do. Okay. All right. So you're going to connect this image to your main character, jot down a few words or phrases that are coming to mind from that picture as your character. You've got 1.5 minutes. That's 1 minute and 30 seconds. Ready, set, go. You have 1 more minute. Twenty more seconds. Right, go ahead and finish that thought. The remaining few seconds that we have. Now, we're going to go into our second flow. That was our first one. We're going to be doing all of the flows in our time together today as if you're in your character's skin. So our initial ones will give us flow states that allow for a transition. The latter ones, you'll have less of a transition into your character's skin. If you're not writing fiction but memoir, you can also modify these as you see fit to explore past memories and kind of get esoteric with them. But I'm not going to provide that modification just so that you're aware. As ever, allow yourself to gently transition into your character's body, mindset, and experiences, always being gentle with yourself and taking care with your emotions. Here, you're going to choose a picture very quickly that's calling to your character on the gut level. Also, I've got a little bonus at the end for the person who can identify the country that they believe all of these pictures come from. You drop it into the chat. The first person who answers correctly gets a bonus at the end. All right. Now that you've chosen your picture, I'm going to have you close your eyes and see that place, but let it change slowly from the picture that you chose, morphing into a place that your mind is bending it to become. Not unlike a dream, hazy and free, allow yourself to feel the edges of what surrounds you in this space or is moving toward you. Let the textures brush up against your skin and face. As you feel these textures and things moving around you, you see a metal door open in the landscape you've chosen. It is glowing and inviting you to enter it. You walk toward it, letting elevator doors close behind you, the sound soft and final as this elevator slowly goes down. With each movement downward, down all the levels from your world, you feel your body changing, your skin slowly morphing into your characters, your hair, face, arms, and legs becoming your character, your posture changing as you feel the movement of the elevator now through your character's perceptions and reality. The change is very subtle as you move down, down, down. The sound of the elevator changing, the weight of your gravity also changing, the smell of the room altering as the elevator slowly comes to a stop, the gentle halting of movement, dinging open to your character's world, a setting that's familiar to them. When I say you, it is now you as your character. You take one step forward, feeling the unique landscape of their setting. How does it feel under your feet? What are the first colors and shapes that stand out to them? How do you move, and what do you want to approach first? In the distance are a group of people. The closer you walk toward them, the more one person stands out to you. The setting seems to part to let this one person through. As they get closer, you feel a very clear sensation as they stop in front of you. Open their hand, and an object in it holds relevance to you. Open your eyes and write about that object or anything coming up for you in this moment. You have 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. All right. Who needs a little bit more time? Go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat if you need more time. Otherwise, we will go to our next flow. Okay, one more minute then. You've got 30 seconds left. Fifteen more seconds to finish, actually 10 more seconds to finish that thought. All right, find a good stopping place. We're gonna go into our next flow. So go ahead and do a little breathe, a little shaky shake. And let's take a look at these two images for just a few seconds in preparation for flow number 3. You're doing really well. I want you to just congratulate yourselves for sticking with it. All right. You're going to close your eyes again and make sure that your eyes stay closed. If it's uncomfortable to close your eyes, I would say just avert your gaze from the screen so that you can just listen. Go ahead and breathe in and exhale. Breathe in again. And as you breathe again, feel the wind of the place that your character is in that can be related to the picture you picked earlier or to another setting that's on your mind. Allow yourself to feel the chair you're sitting in or ground that you're standing on. Feel how the surface touches your back, your legs, your feet. Now imagine a breeze sweeping over you from that other place, either from an images you've seen before or another place that's slowly blowing in from where your character is. It doesn't have to be definitive. Simply let the wind pick you up, blowing over you in a fragrant draft. With each gust, it is lifting you higher and higher from where you are, bringing you to where you can no longer feel the surfaces under your feet, back, or legs. You are weightless. The breeze brings you higher and higher as your body slowly transforms, starting with your feet. They begin to transform with each gust of the wind, bringing you higher and higher as your body morphs into your character's body. Your feet, legs, thighs, hips, abdomen, back, chest, shoulders, arms, hands, nails, neck, and finally head and face slowly transform as you're lifting higher and higher through clouds and weather to where you are dropped ever so slightly below the cloud cover, to where you can see a landscape that's familiar to you and your character. From now on, every time I say you, it is you as the character. You angle your body so you can zoom in closer to the landscape, oceanscape, anythingscape, with the wind, directing it to fly you closer to something below that's caught your attention. As you get closer, your body begins to experience sensations as you drift over landscapes familiar to you, your history, your experience. Focus on that bit of landscape that's calling to you and let the wind take you there. Your body is hurtling with an immense amount of speed as you get closer and closer until the wind whisks you up and down gently to land on that bit of earth assuredly and very, very gently. You feel that earth that's specific to you, letting your toes squish or sift through it. Feel the temperature and the breeze blowing through this landscape. You reach down to touch a bit of vegetation, lifting it to your nose to smell before taking a small taste. You let that taste settle in your mouth before looking in the middle distance in this landscape. Someone is holding that same plant in their hand. Open your eyes and write about this person and how the plant is related to this moment and any other moments that might have come before. You must write without stopping, letting yourself be in the voice of your character fully, not stopping to correct anything, simply writing continuously for the next 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. Give a few more seconds to finish that thought and take a little pause. All right. Good job, everyone. Next, we're going to do flow number 4, otherwise known as the dancing flow. So let's take a few seconds here as we get ready for this next flow. Go ahead and finish tying off any knots or thoughts that are happening there. And get ready for your character to do a little bit of movement. All right, for this next flow, if you want to try it again, because we're recording, if you're able to try it lying down in the space that you're in, it works really well as also, but it's not necessary today. You can listen to the recording and try it out that way again, just to see what new ideas come up. So go ahead and close your eyes and allow a type of music to sit in the background. Let your imagination play that music. It can be any music at all that you're hearing as your character. It starts off very slow, very light. Your character is lying on the ground, The whole weight of the surface of the floor is against each part of his or her or their back, shoulders, hips, butt, thighs, ankles, and feet. When the music shifts, either changing songs or getting a bit louder, your character feels moved by this music. Something stirs deep in their body, hitting them first in their abdomen, then in their solar plexus, and moving deeper as their heartbeat synchronizes with the beat of the melody or bass. They slowly open their eyes to behold others dancing to this music. They slowly rise from the ground, limb by limb, their hands touching the floor until you're standing, fully in the body of your character as you sway gently from side to side with the music. Some part of you wants to move, and you feel the rhythm building in you as you move from swaying to taking steps with the beat, slowly joining in with the other characters. You don't know hardly anyone in the room as they join in, moving to the beat with others, the heat building in your body as you become your character fully in the middle of the dance. The music shifts suddenly from a more up-tempo song to something slower. The group pairs off to partners, and you see someone that is familiar to your character, that they haven't seen for years. Someone they had history with, but haven't been in touch with. This person gestures to your character, holding their hand out as they want to dance with them. The music brings you closer and closer. As they take each other's hands, something is between this familiar person and your character. As they keep dancing, the music picking up, but still soft and gentle between them, the object presses further into your character's hand. They must find out what it is. Open your eyes and write the rest of this scene that's coming to you. You have 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. "45 more seconds." You have 10 more seconds to finish that thought. All right. Really good job, everyone. So what I'd like you to do is take a look at what you've already written. Fill in anything that still needs writing. Are there any questions that come up in your character's voice or new ideas? Also, you can go ahead and share any discoveries you've made so far in the chat. We will have time for you to actually verbally share. That time is not right now, just because I want to keep us on a forward trajectory. But if you want to share something that you've discovered in the chat, you can. I'm just going to give us 2 minutes right here. All right, we've got 1 more minute. And 30 more seconds to finish that thought. All right, what I want you to do as you're finishing up and putting on those final touches of your reflection is to take a look at both of these images, letting your gaze settle, then unfocus as we go into our next flow. You're going to choose one of these images to carry with you if it feels relevant as you close your eyes. Taking that image you chose, let it morph into a waterway of possible significance to your character. Let your gut lead you. You don't try to direct traffic too much there. Instead, flow into the waterway that's on your mind. When I say waterway, it could be a lake, a river, a stream, any sort of place that has water. Allow yourself to approach the dock of this waterway where there's a boat waiting for you as your character. Look carefully at this boat and then beyond to the destination you're hoping to reach in this boat. Let your body sway as your character on this ocean, lake, or waterway. The pier undulates with you as you grab hold of the boat and slip your way in, feeling the waves jockeying you back and forth. You carefully tie off the boat and grab the oars, allowing yourself to gently soar across the water moving in a way that's specific to your character's world and the weather outside. The sun peeks out of the clouds, perhaps, or maybe it's a stormy day, bits of mist coming down, or perhaps it's full sun and it is heating your skin. You keep rowing, getting farther and farther from shore. You hear someone cry out to you and it catches your attention. You row toward them. They are in the water and something has happened to them. A conversation passes back and forth between the person in the water and you as your character in the boat. Open your eyes and give us just the dialogue and direct thoughts between these two people at first. You've got 2 minutes. Actually, you have 3 minutes. Ready, set, go. And I'm going to give us some music. You've got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. All right, 8 seconds left. All right, 8 seconds left. I lied. Time's up. Sorry. All right, I'll give you just a couple more seconds there. We are going to, for those who are ready, we're going to do a little bit further discovery on the water. Give yourself another 2 minutes to fill in anything else that wasn't dialogue or ideas, or in other words, ideas that are coming to you for the scene. It might be characterization, world, setting. And when I say characterization, the physicality, um, any narration that might illuminate the relationship or the growing relationship between the two of them, unless they have some history, or it could be an entirely new situation. So let's go ahead and take 2 minutes to just expand a little bit there. All right, you've got 20 seconds left. All right, excellent. Well done, everyone. And also, I would like to congratulate our lovely Annie Williams, who is here, author in the house. We also have a couple of other authors in the house too that I'll praise. Well, you're all authors. But she got the bonus free call with me for answering that the earlier block of 4 pictures that kind of had earth tones, that was from Senegal. Woo woo! Congratulations to Annie. Thank you. All right. We're going to do some extra treasure seeking here to find some additional discoveries. And this is the first time we're going slightly into the analytical territory of thinking, feeling, what is it that each of these characters want in this scene from each other that you just wrote with the dialogue and the thoughts, and then you added additional things to them. Go ahead and ask them in your head or on the paper before answering. And then how are their desires showing up in this scene? So you're just going to really, really quickly answer these questions. Incomplete sentences work best. What are they still hiding emotionally? And what actions do you feel need to be added after the dialogue? So we're going to just spend a minute here. 20 more seconds. All right, excellent. Well done, everyone. We are going to do immersion flow number 6, which I like to call Life in the Dunes. Okay, and this is one of the few flows that I actually do with the music playing while I'm reading. So I'm going to try to keep the music very low. Sometimes it means people can't hear it, but I'll try to keep it at like an even volume there. Okay, so get ready to close your eyes. Close your eyes and feel the dry heat of the desert. The sun is raining down on you in your character's skin. Let the heat hit their very specific skin and let it radiate through your body as the character. How does the heat call to them? What does it bring up for them? How does it feel as they slowly put one foot in front of the other, trudging through the dunes? You reach up to rearrange the folds of fabric, protecting your head from the sun. You extend the hood out further as sweat drips down your face and into the sand beneath you, dissipating. Ahead of you, the desert dunes shimmer with the heat. You see shapes beginning to form and you do a slow circle around you, double checking it isn't a mirage from the heat. You reach up to drink from the canister slung diagonally across your chest. You wipe your brow with the scarf around your head and press on in the direction of the shapes in the distance. You are hoping for something in that distance. You've been walking for hours now, since before dawn, and you know you only have so long in this heat before you will have to rest, find shelter, or risk using up the rest of your water rations until you reach the next oasis. You carefully keep to the ridge of this dune as the sand falls around you. You stop again, the heat feeling like your chest is in an oven, pressing on you from all sides. The shapes become more solid, one in white robes coming closer and closer. This creature or person stops as they become a solid, non-mirage figure. Open your eyes and continue the scene between your character and this figure, creature in the first-person version of your character's voice. Freeform their voice about this experience and encounter. You have 2 minutes. All right, you have 20 more seconds to finish that thought. All right, excellent. So our next immersion, we are going to spend a little time with the birds. And we're going to get ready for yet another deep dive. So what I would like you to do is to close your eyes and feel yourself as your character in the air, flying over the ocean, starting perhaps in the clouds or midway between the clouds and the ocean. The sun is causing the ocean to sparkle, and you circle closer and closer. You see the deep aquamarine of the sea, fish and dolphins below, a large whale in the distance, lumbering by as it gracefully blows water and air out of its blowhole, catching you with some spray as you fly below, circling away to avoid it, but not without marveling at the majesty of the sea. You circle closer and closer to a spot that's fascinating you in this crystal clear turquoise ocean. Something or someone under the surface has caught your eye or attention, and you accelerate to get closer. Gorgeous, iridescent shades of fish become clearer alongside coral reefs deep below as you dive through the surface of the water, pushing through schools of fish and tiny sharks nipping at those schools of fish. As you dive deeper and deeper, you have plenty of air. You can stay down here at least for the next 20 minutes, either because of your scuba gear or some other magical means. As this thing or person you're fixated on starts to get away, you keep moving faster and faster toward that thing or person that you are fixated on. When you reach the bottom of the ocean, it's within your grasp. You make contact, and now you will write what comes next or what significance this person, treasure, or thing holds for you. You have 2 minutes. Ready, set, go. I have a few seconds left. All right, time is up and we are getting to our next bonus. So what I would like to know is, do you have any discoveries you'd like to share so far? If so, go ahead and drop those into the chat. And the first person who answers gets a bonus. So any discoveries that you've had so far? Anything you want to share? Ooh, my character is diving to reach herself. Thank you so much. Clarissa, you get the bonus for being the first to answer. And Sam, thank you so much. I discovered that the main character in my story is someone different than what I started with. Yes, excellent. I love this. Keep sharing if you feel comfortable. We're going to take a little departure from the flows that we've been doing. You've been doing a really, really stellar job there. So what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and write down any new questions or desires that you're finding about your character. Is there anything new in their voice that you are discovering? It could be as simple as, what does blank want from blank? And you can fill this in as many times as you want. Is there anything that's begging to be written from this process? Is it poetry? Is it a song? Is it a rap? Or something less esoteric and more narrative? Go ahead and give yourself permission to write that. And I'm just going to give us 1 minute here. So go ahead and do some exploration. And then I'm going, because we have only about 34 minutes left, we're going to take a little detour and come back to this work. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those into the chat as well. All right, time is up. I'm going to stop the share of what I'm sharing right now. I'm going to share something new. Bop, bop, bop. Actually, I think it'll just let me do this. Okay, so go ahead and finish that last thought while I am getting the share ready to share. Let me stop that and try again. Share. Except for it. Okay, excellent. Actually, I think I'm going to just share my desktop because that makes it easier. Okay, there we go. So a lot of times when folks are doing these flows, they're like, okay, so what do I do next? Now, many of you already know what to do next, but I do want to show you the levels at which of depth in which you can put things, you can change things. So here I've got the original of 3 different types of fiction. And then here I have me going deeper from these exercises as an exercise. And so these are exercises that I actually use with my own work, but only one of these is actually from my own work. The others are just imitations of things just to kind of have something fun to play with. Okay. So I'm going to read this first one, and then I'm going to show you the correction. And when I say correction, I do not mean copy edits, not even quite developmental edits, although they could be that. It is more going deeper and allowing the reader to connect with the character on an emotional level, as well as know more about the setting, know more about their inner and outer life, more about their relationships. So we'll take it away from here. I might not be able to read the whole thing in the interest of time, just to give you a sense of what it means to go in and dive deep. Jelena felt like she was behind on everything, not the least the preparing of the afternoon tea. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger because my screen tends to make things very, very small. Jelena felt like she was behind on everything, not the least the preparing of the afternoon tea for her and Party to discuss her apartment situation. Party would have a solution. Jelena was certain. But did she want to dive in and rescue her again and again? Was it ever going to strain their relationship like Jelena rescuing Kells had? So Jelena is our main character, and she has a best friend, Kells, who's one, everybody has that crazy friend who just kind of keeps getting into trouble. And then Party is her friend who is that very responsible friend who always comes in and saves the day. I'm a long way off from Kel's self-destructive tendencies. Even thinking it felt hurtful. Kel's couldn't help how she was, could she? Delicious. I love these muffin things you make. I can smell them in the air, Party declared, walking in without knocking, as she always did. Jelena had learned to simply leave it unlatched. Party was almost always late anyway, and it left her to stress about the table arrangements. Come in, come in. I need your help finishing the setting up, Jelena declared, carrying a heavy tray of tea items and fresh muffins with berries she'd found in the market that morning. She still felt it was not quite enough food, but that couldn't be helped. It didn't take away the sting she felt in her chest at the divide economically between her and Party, even if Party never made a point of it. So I'm going to stop there and show you the difference between these two. Okay, so I'm going to make this one just a little bit bigger and point a bit. Okay, excellent. And then we can kind of look at the difference between the two. Jelena felt like she was behind on everything as she tried to prepare a decent enough afternoon tea before Party arrived to discuss her apartment situation. She had to stop and hold the edge of the kitchen table as a wave of dizziness passed through her, her eyesight settling back to normal after a few seconds. Party will have a solution, Jelena was certain. But do I want her to dive in and rescue me again and again? She put a hand to her hot forehead, inhaling deeply to try and calm herself. Will Party's interventions ever strain our relationship like me rescuing Kells has? She reached for a muffin and took a bite, the hot liquid from the blueberry sweet, but luckily not burning her tongue this time. I'm a long way off from Kel's self-destructive tendencies. Even thinking it felt hurtful. Kels couldn't help how she was, could she? Delicious. I love these yummies you make, Party declared, walking in without knocking, as she always did. Jelena had learned long ago to simply leave it unlatched. Party was almost always late anyway, and it let her fret about the food setup without having to stop to open the door. Come in, come in. I need your help finishing the setting up, Jelena declared, carrying a heavy tray of tea and muffins. It's not quite enough food, she realized a little too late. A sting sprung up in her chest at the vast economic divide between she and Party, even if Party never made a point of it. So here we see me making changes that only quite go halfway. I know that this could go even deeper. So what I would do with this scene is I would completely rewrite it. After I make these sorts of kind of surgical changes, after doing exactly the flows that we have just done, I realize, there's something else I want to tweak here, but I want to know what your thoughts are if you have any. So you can put them into the chat if you would like. I'll just give us a few seconds here before we look at the next example. And I'm going to make these just a little bit smaller so you can kind of see them side by side. There we go. So one of the things when we're looking at going deeper with characters is that we can never be married to this idea that this clever turn of phrase is what is going to allow the reader to get closer to our characters. Instead, we have to always think of the narrative as being something that has to be very, very flexible, very easily pliant to what the character wants and allow the character to reveal the story to us versus us trying to puppet master the story and wrench it in a particular direction, because that's really what's going on here on the left side. It might be your right side, but basically the original. And then the change here is where we are really getting into that deeper sense of what is it that Jelena wants. We still don't fully have a sense of what she wants, and that's why we're going to take a look at another example, because each example goes just a little bit deeper. So we're going to take a look at a middle grade novel. And I am curious what genres everyone is writing in. So if you want to put what genre you're writing in the chat, I would very much appreciate it, especially for our discussion that's going to be coming in a few minutes. So with this middle grade novel, we have the original here. Darla wasn't terrified. She was confused. For most of her life, she thought her father was a scumbag because he'd abandoned her when she was a baby. At least that was what her aunt said. She also said he'd been killed, which caused Darla to give him little thought, because even if he'd intended on returning, he couldn't have. But if he were alive, he had no excuse, and Darla was surprised at these new feelings. She was in wonder. Lately, without knowing why, she had found herself thinking more kindly toward him. What did it all mean? So here, there's a lot of just kind of surface level exploration. It feels like a lot of words, but not a lot of deeper meaning. So here you can see where I've modified things to try to get closer to what it is that Darla's feeling in a specific moment versus a general wash. Darla wasn't terrified because everything she'd known about her father had just been turned on its head. How could he be alive after all this time? She looked over at the place on her wall where his picture used to be until her aunt removed it. Should I have kept it from being taken? So once again, we've got this sense of like the setting, a specific time, a specific place. For most of her life, she thought her father was a scumbag because he'd abandoned her when she was a baby. At least that's what her aunt had said. An uncle had claimed, so I changed this so that it's more specific, that the aunt says one thing, another uncle says something different. An uncle had claimed he'd been killed a few years back, which meant Darla could let go of any hope her father would return. But if he's alive, there was no excuse. Darla felt a small glow in her chest, a lightening of her breath, an ease to how she sat in the worn chair of her attic bedroom. What did it all mean? So we've got a sense of these conflicting emotions going on. The expectation in the next part here would be to really give that sense of like, okay, so then what is her actual, what actually did she think happened to her father and what does she believe now? And kind of giving more of those deeper details there. All right. Excellent. So we've got a mystery, we've got a paperback, excuse me, a picture book, a cozy high fantasy, and adult fiction. Ooh, the main character is a girl around 10 or 11 years old, set in a small town in the 1950s. Ooh, this is very exciting. Fun. I always love adult fiction where there's a character that's like a younger person speaking. And then there's also adult short story speculative fiction. Yeah, keep telling me what you're writing. All right. The next and last example is romance. Okay. So I don't know if we have any romance writers in the house. So we can see the original here prior to the exploration, and then we can see what happens after the exploration. Okay. Kailani loved her island home. It was filled with all the things she loved: big waves, good surfing, and gorgeous men drifting in and out that required little to no commitment. Check, check, check. Except the gorgeous men drifting was now something she couldn't bear. The one-night stands that had felt so thrilling, especially as one of her island's only female surf guides, had dwindled to non-existent. What is so wrong with me that I haven't had a decent date in months? Honestly, it felt like years. Hey, Kailani, can you take this group of executives on a longer surf today? Noelle called in, sick. Her boss called out to her. One of these days, this shop was going to be hers, but for now, she knew her only answers to the boss man were yes, yes, and no to any drinking adventures. Unless I get desperate, she thought. All right, let's take a look at after the deep dive. Kailani loved her island of Oahu. As she sipped her chai latte and watched the early morning sun rise over the Pacific Ocean, she felt a feeling of peace and gratitude. Her home was filled with all the things she loved: big waves, good surfing, and gorgeous tourist clientele drifting in and out that required little to no commitment. Check, check, check. Except the gorgeous men drifting in and out was now something she couldn't bear. She tried to talk it out with her lawyer best friend, Iolana. And yes, of course, there are going to be spelling mistakes because that's what happens when you explore. You don't worry about the mistakes, you just explore. Who'd been trying to convince her to stop her painful trajectory. It was sadly a situation out of her hands. The one-night stands that had felt so thrilling, especially as one of her island's only female surf guides, had dwindled to non-existent, and she felt like it was her newly sensitive heart that was to blame. Was it the last tumble she'd had on a massive wave months back that had knocked her unconscious and meant boss man Dave had to rescue her? A truly unconscionable thought. Or was it that she'd put on some extra muscle with her new afternoon training to stave off osteoporosis in her mid-30s? What is so wrong with me that I haven't had a decent date in months? Honestly, it feels like years. And you're going to have things like this where you like, where a phrase just still fits that's in the character's thoughts, and that's fine. You can keep it. Hey, Kailani, can you take this group of executives on a longer surf today? Noelle called in sick. Her boss, Dave, called out to her. She could smell the tequila on him from where she stood next to the boards, needing waxy. One of these days, the shop was going to be hers, but for now, she knew her only answers to the boss man were yes, yes, and no to any drinking adventures, unless I get desperate, she thought. Yeah, but it means you got to help me wax those boards. When hell freezes over, Dave grumbled back. I see snow, Kailani sweetly responded, taking another sip of her latte. So, what can be really fun is really experimenting and playing with what you have or completely rewriting it. So, this is an example of this is almost completely rewritten, which is very fun. And what I like to do when I'm doing a rewrite, and a lot of the authors that I work with, is you just have the original, like you have it here on the left side, and then you have what you're going to rewrite on a blank page on the opposite side of the screen. And so you can just reference the two of them. Or you can have the original printed up, and if you have a smaller screen, you can just type up the new rewrite on the right side. So that's a way that you can implement some of the things that we've been experimenting with. All right, I am going to now reshare. Here we go. Share. Let's see if it actually does what I want it to do. We will find out. Okay. Yes, excellent. All right. So you might ask me, okay, what is it about these character objectives? Why do they matter? How do I use them? And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go skip forward and take a look because we just don't have enough time to do some of those flows that I already had planned for us. They'll just take too long and we won't be able to get to this essential part of character objectives. So those rewrites that you saw are only really truly possible if you know what your character wants. And one of the ways that that can be expressed is in verbs. So an example would be Idris wants to pummel the person who pushed her on the mountain. Whereas Julina, her daughter, would want to reason with the person and make sure they hadn't just fallen. So what another character wants to do is really based on a lot of things. And that's why knowing their background and history is super, super important. If you're struggling with a point of view or people are reading your work and they're saying things like, I just can't connect with the characters, or this is feeling very, very fuzzy, or I'm starting to lose interest. Sometimes it's because the point of view isn't clear because you don't yet know what the character wants. Or the character doesn't yet feel like they're making their own choices. Or you're still discovering what your character wants, and that is okay. Your character's desires are actually called your character's objectives. And I've chosen this black and white photo here because knowing your character's objectives can help things in our understanding of our characters and their relationships go from monotone to full spectrum color, like we see on this next page. And you might ask, okay, then why don't we start with objectives? If you don't know the backstory, or for example, if you're an actor and if you don't invent the backstory that the playwright has given you, it's much harder to know what it is that your character wants and what they want in each moment. Because ultimately, any character that has a point of view, you must know what they want. You also must know what the antagonist wants as well. especially based on the stimuli in their environment, the things that people are doing to them, or what they're doing to others. So when you feel stuck, go back to those essential questions of what does my character want here? What flow can I use to find out? Don't try to just mentally puzzle it out. When you're writing, you've really got to use both sides of your brain. You have to use your right side, which is kind of that more flowy. Like the first hour of our time together, we were completely using the right sides of our brain. Now we're using the left side to kind of connect the pieces. Often an organic exploration usually works better than just simply analyzing. And also, most authors find analysis easier after character flows like the ones that we've been doing. So here we've got some active verbs that you could just steal and use with your characters. So when you're feeling stuck, go back to that essential question. What does my character want here? Take a look at these active verbs that you could use to analyze what your character wants in a specific scene, and go ahead and take a picture of them if you want. I'm going to just give us a few seconds here to take that picture if you want. You can also type into Google dramatic objectives, and it'll also give you a similar list. So how do we integrate character objectives into the flows that we just did? You're going to go ahead and allow yourself to ask when you're ready, what is this that I've just written showing about what my character wants? Don't deny what's coming up in your discovery phase. Some writers have very, very clear paths for their characters, which isn't bad, but it doesn't feel like it's coming from a living, organic place. And it'll feel like puppet mastering, especially to readers. And so don't feel too fixated on that particular idea. So for example, here we're not sure what these guys want, the two of them. Now we know that Angelica wants him to confess and Dario wants to surprise her. So stick to verbs that express what your character wants. Don't get too in the weeds because what your character wants is going to change a lot within a scene. We aren't actors, so we don't need to know this on a really specific level. We need to know it more on a very basic level. That's really for your main characters and then any secondary characters that are really primary to the action of the story. But we have to know on a deep level for any character that has a point of view, with a few exceptions, but I won't go into them now. So right now we've got about 14 minutes left, and I wanted to give enough time for you to share out anything you've discovered, but also to ask me some questions. I'm going to skip forward a little bit and just mention that a lot of times folks can get very caught up in clever turns of phrase or opening sentence hooks. And that's where writers can get very mired in this work. You have to remember what keeps readers engaged. And that's the deeper narrative that keeps us close to the characters, that immersive experience that pulls us out of the world we're in and into the world of your characters. And so I'm just going to skip forward a little bit. And I'll come back if we have time to this little slide here where I have a little challenge for you. But first, I want to give you a chance to talk to me. So I'm going to stop the share. All right. What questions do you have for me? You are able to unmute yourself, okay?
Well, I don't know that I have I don't know if this is a question exactly. I would like to be able to ask you a question. What I've discovered, let me tell you what I've just
Tell me
discovered.
what you discovered.
Okay, what I discovered was that I had a character who I knew what this character was capable of, and was a sort of a secondary story. It was like someone in the story, and then all of a sudden she became the fundamental character. And then I realized what was missing about this story and her particular was I didn't know where she came from. And so what's been opening up while doing this exercise is where she came from, what her motivations are. I mean, there's still some questions. It's not like all those have been answered, but many of them have been opened up into she has become a real person in my eyes. I have questions of her. I want to know what is driving her. And now she seems like the focal point of a story that seemed more yeah, it was more circumstantial. Like this event occurred. This is how the characters reacted to this event and what they're doing with it, rather than now it seems like I really want to drive this story up to be about her and what she's going through in this event. And so now it's starting to make sense, who she is and why she's there and what her limitations are. And yeah, very
Oh, I
cool.
love that. I
That's
love
very
that.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what I would say is keep exploring. Keep that momentum going because that is really going to change the whole structure in a way that's going to be very satisfying, not only to you, to your characters, but also to the people who read your work.
Yeah.
All right. Who is next? Who would like to share? Yes, go ahead, Sherry. I saw your hand up. Let me see if I can help you out there, Sherry.
Unmute, Sherry.
There, I just put an ask to unmute. So it should allow you to at the bottom left side. There we go.
Okay. Yes, I've been working on this before today, and the prompts led me into some interesting directions because I'm the one that's writing an adult fiction, but the main character is a child. It's a little girl. This is what I really want to write. The question always, what does my main character want, always puzzles me. I know what she has to achieve, and she knows what she has to achieve. This exercise helped me write the end of the book. And I'm a long way from the end. But then all of a sudden, your pictures and things made me think, okay, this is how the story ends. So I know what she wants to get, what she has to get in the end. But how, I don't, that's something I always have trouble, I guess clarifying would be the best word. It's hard for me to simplify it down to one thing, one main thing a character wants.
So that's where I often will just do it scene by scene.
Okay.
I won't ever try to do it overall until I've written multiple drafts because it's much harder to discern that until I really know my character well. And it's harder to discern it for characters who are children because we're so used to children not having a lot of like a lot of power. And
Yeah.
so we as adults have to kind of give the power back to those children characters. And I've just got a recommendation here I've just put into the chat.
Okay.
It's the most recent message I've put in there. And it's a title called The Trouble with Goats and Sheep. I hope I'm remembering it correctly. Otherwise, you can email me and be like, Rita, which one is that?
I'll write that
Um,
down.
yeah, it's by Joanna. I don't remember her last name, but she's a UK author. And it's actually the most recent book I've written with that concept that I can recall that sounds similar concept, hopefully, to what you're writing. But I think like often the easiest thing to do is to be like, hey, I know where I want my character to go. Then when we're exploring, we have to take some time to think about, okay, so what is this revealing about what they want? So like, where is it that you know your character wants to go, Sherry, for example?
Okay. This is about a girl growing up at a time when uh, racism is a big deal. It's a central Texas town, a small town. And in the end, what she really wants and has to do is figure out a way to save her best friend's brother, who some people
Okay.
are who the Ku Klux Klan is trying to kill. And I
Okay.
know how she does it now because your visuals actually helped a great deal. I know how he gets away, and I know how she helps him get away. Uh, but as it goes, I'm still pretty early in the book. I don't know how to answer what does my character want. I know what she thinks she has to achieve.
Hmm.
That's the saving the brother. But she's a child, so I don't quite know how she sees what she wants, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I think you've already answered the question, at least for me, and that is that like her overall objective is to save her friend's brother.
Who she
That's
thinks is innocent,
yeah,
and the rest of the
right.
town.
Yes. And then at each moment, she has her objective might, shift. Like
Mhm.
at one moment, she might be like, I want to protect, I want to save, I want to lie, I want to hide. And you know, depending on what moment it is. And so that's what you'll be looking at is like, okay, here's the overall objective, and then let's look at the tiny ones that are based on the stimuli. Like if she's interacting with a power figure that she's afraid of, you know, I want you know, do subterfuge or
Mhm.
yeah, that
Well,
was a bad.
she's a little, I haven't, I love kids in books, girls
Me
especially.
too. I love them too.
And, Scout and the little girl from The Little Friend are all people, they're in a way sure of themselves. Their world
Mhm.
thinks of them as a child and they think, well, I can do this. I can do whatever I want to do. And they're not exactly defiant. She's not a defiant child, except she is in that she's going to do what she's going to do. And yeah, I know I'll get in trouble, but I'm a
Oh
kid.
yeah.
How much trouble can I get in? She
Right.
never,
And so there's that, you know, that objective there. Now, Sherry, I
yeah.
don't want to cut you off, but I do want to give
Oh
other
no,
people a
please
chance to
do.
ask.
Please do.
So, but
I don't
this
know
was
how to
great.
say what is the main thing your character wants. But yeah, you help me figure it
I think
out.
you've got it actually. I think you do. All right. Others who have questions, comments, things that they've discovered, feel free to share. You don't have to turn your camera on if you, it's great to see your face, but you can also share in the chat, or you can just turn on your audio. Yes, yes, go ahead, Annie. Yes.
So I had a question because I'm writing a short story right now and it's single POV, but I was curious, is there a way that you would modify any of this when you're talking about having side characters, possibly like romantic interests, who are going to be important to the plot, but not necessarily a POV character? Is there a way you might modify some of these questions or any of this to fit those less, I'm not going to call them less important, but less centralized characters?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like I would say you can do the explorations that we just did. Like you can go back and watch the recording and you can explore those secondary characters, even if they don't have a point of view, because they might be like knowing their background and what their intentions are, even if it's kind of fuzzy, helps to inform the main point of view as they're discovering things about that particular character. Did that answer the question? Did I understand it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Excellent. All right. Yes. Anybody else have a question? Or a comment or discovery? Because if you don't, I have something for you. I have a final bonus. Are you ready? Yes? Do this if you're ready. Give me your jazz hands. Okay. I want to see some jazz
Yes.
hands. Yes. Jazz hands. Yes. Okay. All right. We'll see if we can get this to do what I want it to do. Yes, it is going to do what I want it to do, I think. All right. It's not quite in the view that I want, which is fine. Okay, so I want you to, in your own time, because we've only got three minutes left, so you might not finish this, but in the time we have together, you're going to write your own character flow. You're going to go ahead and take us on a journey to your character's most joyful place in their voice. And I'm going to actually put this into the chat in case, just in case you want to take it with you. So you're going to let this be a place of joy, fulfillment, where they are most at one with themselves. Go ahead and give yourself permission to have this treat where you create your own flow to go into your character's happy place. You have exactly 1.5 to 2 minutes. Okay. Ready, set, go. You have 1 minute left. All right, go ahead and finish that thought. It was so great to be here with all of you. And remember that everything you've learned today, you can play with it, you can mix it up, you can match it. I do have a book coming out that has all of my flows because this is only about an hour and a half of about 5 to 6 hours that I've created. So I'm going to put it all into a workbook along with some other ways to like release tension so that you can write. So that's going to come out next year. So if you want a free copy of it, you just join my mailing list and you'll have access to that. But I will see you next week because next week we're going to do something very exciting that I have not had a workshop on before. So it's going to be very fun. But I actually teach this a lot individually to writers, and that is turning your real life events into fiction. So
Ooh.
come with your real life events. Okay. It's
Oh,
going to be
cool.
very interactive. We're going to have a great time. Yes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I'll see
All
you
right.
next week.
Thank
Meanwhile,
you.
take
Thank you,
care.
Brita.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.